Here's a video talking about the Simpsons revealing the future of America. A lot of videos already on YouTube that show all kinds of predictions that have already happened, like Prince, fake death. This was a Simpsons episode that ran back in the year 2000, believe it or not, predicting Trump, because it was all planned out. This prediction could have just been staged, These three individuals could have just staged this to make it look like this painting. That's not really significant. This is showing Trump at his funeral or his death. There was an episode a few years ago depicting the next president, a female, and it says, "As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it?" Well, we're completely broke. So I assume that the stock market will be next to nothing, or America will be bankrupt. What I do find interesting, the next president should be the last president. And it almost looks like, it really does look like Hillary Clinton will be the next or last president. But, it's depicting a female president, and I happen to believe that Michelle Obama could be the next president, which would explain Obama going back into office, which would explain how all these hundreds and hundreds of people have had all these disturbing dreams and visions about Obama. I saw Obama in the White House during the destruction of America, This is a clip from Simpsons season 23, episode 9, or 923. Very important. A lot of futuristic revelation comes out of this one episode. But it says, Montgomery Burns Institute for Soul Extraction. Interesting, huh? Because the Bible says one of the judgments against Babylon the Great, merchants of gold, silver, brass, iron, oil, fine wine, wheat, sheep, chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. Now, I still don't understand this full revelation, this understanding. I do find it kind of disturbing. The Bible talks about one of the judgments of Babylon the Great, the souls of men, and back here we can see soul extraction. So I'm not really sure what all that details. This is Simpsons. Here's a 23:9 again. It shows New York underwater. Very disturbing. New York people believe that tidal waves can be seen on these new $100 bills. Others believe it's a nuclear explosion, Here's more revelation from the 23:9. Shows the South Pole all dried up. Well, we know that the South Pole is actually this big ice ring or ice wall, so I assume that sometime in the future that this ice wall, some of it's going to melt, which would explain how you see these futuristic maps of the United States where the west coast is all flooded, the east coast is a lot of it's underwater, Florida's underwater, all these parts are underwater, probably because the ice wall has gotten warmed up and melted, and they're probably giving you revelation right in front of your face here. Let's go to Google, type in Captain Hook sailed around Antarctica. Antarctica is the ice ring around this flat disk Earth. It's somewhere around 60,000 or 69,000 miles around. Captain Hook sailed it back in 1776. And this is more revelation from the 23:9. The door just happens to have a 2 and 3, a 23. More revelation from the 23:9 episode where this guy's being robbed and he's questioning the robbers. He's like, we're a cashless society. Why are you trying to rob me? So they're giving more hints and clues about the future. Back in November 1st of 2012, there was this little short skit. It wasn't a full episode, where it shows Mr. Burns endorsing Romney. This is very important because this little skit reveals some very disturbing revelation. Basically, it shows apparently where America, the fault line that's going to split America, the big earthquake. This short skit ran Thursday, November 1st, 2012. And what's amazing is you can pretty much line up where the split or fault line, the rupture, is going to happen at. The way it's depicted, it looks like the split or rupture is going to happen literally in the middle of Louisiana. Something else that's interesting, just come over here, find Ken Peters, I Saw the Tribulation, and you can practically calculate when this destruction is going to happen. If you listen to this guy's testimony, it's like 2 to 3 years after this so-called rapture event happens is when he sees this worldwide earthquake and millions of people die. And he says, I've never heard of an earthquake where millions of people die. Well, we know from other testimonies that people see this big, what I call a fake asteroid, and then they will detonate a bunch of bombs at the bottom of the ocean, shake the entire earth, cause a huge 200-foot tidal wave to literally devour lower half of the United States. Most of Florida will be wiped out. America will be split in half. In 1 day, 1 hour, America will be reduced to a third world nation. No more grocery stores, no more gas stations. There's probably not going to be a lot of purified water. If you listen to Ken Peters' testimony over and over again, you'll soon realize, hey, wait a minute, he says that he was taken out and he saw the globe shaking. Well, you have to understand, God can put a border around the flat disk earth and make it look like a globe. Why would God do that? To deceive the power elite that monitor some of these visions and dreams. You know what I'm saying? In other words, listen to his testimony, you'll see where he talks about, I saw these small white boxes in people's homes, many homes, and I know them now to be personal computers. Well, this is obsolete technology for one, but here's the catch. In third world nations, in poorer nations, they still have these monitors. They are using these monitors. So he may have seen into homes in third world countries. God may have put a border around the earth to make it look like a globe, so that when the power elite or the FBI or CIA, when they monitor these visions and dreams, they laugh because they think it's their God, the all-seeing eye, that gave this vision or dream to this person, and they just ignore it and walk away. But to the Christian, we can read between the lines and get the message out of this vision or dream. In other words, God is very tricky and clever. Back to the Simpsons, season 23, episode 9, you're showing, I guess, biometrics or mark of the beast technology, humans and electronics merging together, very disturbing. And it also shows what apparently is the new New York. The old New York has probably been destroyed, but they're wherever this is going to be at, the new New York, gate 23. Interesting. It talks about how Michigan is still under Sharia law, which if you go back and listen to Ken Peters' testimony, he makes it sound as though the Bible has been banned. Okay, before people are getting a chip in their hand, people are hiding Bibles. It's almost like it has been outlawed in America. Yes, most people, they can't fathom the thought that gun confiscation could happen in America or Bibles banned in America. Well, most people, they're not going to fight to the death against this criminal government. They're just not going to. They'll just they can talk all big and bad now, but if your kids are on the line, in other words, you're not going to fight to the death if you've got a couple kids that you've got to figure out how to feed. So, all these gun owners now that act all big and bad, man. Yeah, right. When it comes down to it, when their back's against the wall, they'll give up their guns and just cowardly go along with the criminal New World Order government. So, more on that episode. Cannibalism, the new gold. there's been quite a few visions and dreams over the last few decades where they see where cannibalism is going to happen in America. You know, it's really going to happen. Basically, crops aren't going to grow right. Like one day it's cold, the next day it's hot, the next day it's cold, the next day it's hot, and crops are going to die. They can't grow them unless it's indoors, which probably explains why, you know, one day's wage will buy a loaf of bread. Probably because that loaf of bread, the wheat that was grown to produce that bread was grown indoors, you know. So anyway, cannibalism is going to happen. I do encourage you, if you have a couple $100,000 in your 401k, go ahead and take some of that money out, buy 2 or 3 acres of land out in the middle of nowhere, go rent a backhoe and start digging 12-foot deep pits and start storing up thousands of cans of good down into your pit, cover it all up, put dirt over it, you know, figure out how to store up water. Okay, you're going to be the wealthiest person in the entire world. Okay, this person over here that has a bunch of gold and silver, he's going to commit suicide while he's starving to death. You have pits that you dug out with thousands of cans of food and water stored up. You're going to be the richest person in the entire world. So figure it out. Figure out how to store up on. You're going to need about 12 to 14 years worth of food stored up, because like again, you've been taught that the rapture happens and then 7 years later it's the end of the tribulation and then Jesus comes back and then everything's going to be okay. Well, the only problem with that is it's nowhere in the Bible does it say that from the rapture to the end of the tribulation is 7 years. But what I do know this, Jacob's trouble that parallels the end time nightmare just happens to be 7 years, then a great deception, and then another 7 years. So it looks to me like it's 14 years. So you might want to store up on 14 years worth of food and water for your family if you're going to try to survive. So I wish you the best of luck, and God bless.